Hello and welcome. This is Mark W. recording in the Mark W. game room, and you are watching a Tiny Tunnels and Trolls trip. This is my series of videos in which I play the solo adventures for Tunnels and Trolls, which can be played in a brief period of time. This is episode number 4. In episodes 1 through 3, I played through some quick and mostly tragic trips into the Deathtrap Equalizer dungeon. That dungeon was probably the first, I'm pretty sure it's the first solo adventure that is classified as a teleport dungeon. And now I'm going to jump into the second teleport dungeon, which is called Beyond the Silvered Pane, the Looking Glass Dungeon. Let's open to the inside front cover. You can see Beyond the Silvered Pane was written by James and Steven Marciniak. And I looked up these two folks, and I could not find any other credits to these names besides this one single adventure. They did this one thing, and they have disappeared from RPGdom as far as I know. If you guys are out there, it'd be awesome if you chimed in. It would be cool to hear what you guys are up to today. Anyway, this is actually a really old edition. Even when I had this adventure back in the day, which to me means in the 80s as a kid, I had a more recent edition. It had a full cover painting with a muscly dude, basically. And this is an older edition. This is number 8, by the way. On the next page, we have the preface and the foreword. So let's read over those briefly. And as you can see, this is for the 5th edition, not the deluxe edition that we have today. So we'll have to wing it a little bit if there are some situations that come up regarding a rules discrepancy. But I think I can handle that because I know the rules well enough. By the way, this word forward is not spelled correctly here, and I have seen it misspelled in the same way for a very long time, including when I was proofreading a recent solo adventure, and also when I was opening and just perusing a recent one made by a third party. But the one I proofread was by Flying Buffalo. Anyway, this is forward as in the opposite of backward. What it should be is forward, F-O-R-E-W-O-R-D, like having a word before the main text or something like that. Before word. Not like the opposite of backward. Okay, so that's it. I am a little bit of a stickler about spelling and grammar, even though I'm not perfect at it myself. But if you want me to review any of your written adventures, I'm usually good at catching a lot of grammar errors, even if that's not my profession, not by a long shot. Anyway, the preface says, I greatly enjoyed the Marciniak dungeon, as it turned out to be kind of a satire on Deathtrap Equalizer. Many similar situations, such as the Alone in the Dark routine, are used. Be warned, what works in Deathtrap Equalizer dungeon is almost always fatal in Beyond the Silvered Pane. Just goes to show that no two people have the same ideas about common sense. Let's just hope you, as a dungeon delver, have some of your own. Here's the forward. This edition of Beyond, by the way, that was Ken St. Andre, January 18th, 1978. So now it's February 2021. So who wants to do the math? About 43 years, close to the day. Wow. Forward. Concerning the revised 5th edition of Tunnels and Trolls. This edition of Beyond the Silvered Pane has been adjusted to comply with the 5th edition of Tunnels and Trolls, both in monster ratings of foes and in dice given to weapons. If you are using an earlier edition of the rulebook, or a future one that they had not anticipated, subtract 5 from all monster ratings given, and use the values listed in the rulebook you own for the weapons you find inside this dungeon. This does not apply to magical weapons, shields, etc. These should be accepted as is, whether you are using early or current rulebooks. The shields of Lorak are the same, for example. I don't know what that is, but so yeah, what I'm gonna do is say say I encounter a scimitar, I will just look up what a scimitar does as far as damage, etc. in the deluxe rulebook. You could argue that you should add to monster ratings for playing with deluxe, because deluxe takes some measures to strengthen characters. For example, warriors get to add dice according to their level number. I'm not going to do that though, because these solos are dangerous enough. I figure I'll take any bonus I can get. Now, one glaring omission that I looked on the back cover, the front cover, these first couple introductory pages. There's no mention about what kind of character belongs here. Um, I did find in the later edition they say no character beyond 70 ads should participate. To me, that's not good enough. You got to say the minimum, because nothing more than 70 means I should be able to play somebody with 10 or 20 and not get horribly murdered. I would not expect that to be the case. So in a moment, I'm actually going to roll up a nice dwarf warrior who's going to be nice and strong. And I'm going to come up with a kind of scheme I've been thinking about to make characters a little bit stronger at the start. It's not really that complicated at all. And that way I'll have someone who I think is roughly suitable for this adventure. By the way, as I was cutting between shots here, it occurred to me I don't think I mentioned what a teleport dungeon is, and that is just a style of solo adventure. I guess it could be a game master adventure as well, but I don't think I've seen any besides solo adventures in which there isn't really too much of a solid plot or a large location to explore. It is basically you roll some dice and you are thrown randomly into a random situation. It could be you have to, suddenly you're in a dragon's lair and you have the choice to run away or gather treasure or fight the dragon, something like that. I just made that up, just kind of a generic kind of thing. But you don't know what you're going to get into. Usually it's something dangerous. You usually have a couple of choices, and the idea is to get in and out quickly, complete something or fail at doing so, or die. Well, failing usually means dying. Um, and that's kind of why I'm choosing teleport adventures for this particular series, the Tiny Tunnels and Trolls trip. So I've said this in other videos, but the idea is they're going to be very quick, except when I'm introducing a new one. I'm going to take my time going through the intros for a new solo and taking a little bit of time explaining what I'm about to play and all that goodness. But then when I repeat the adventure, it's going to be really quick. So we had an episode of Tiny Tunnels and Trolls trip for Deathtrap Equalizer that was only like 7.5 minutes. So that's one example of a very quick one. So I'm expecting this to follow a similar pattern. I'll probably spend something like 20 or 30 minutes on this first video for Beyond the Silvered Pane, and then subsequent trips will be nice and quick. That said, let's read the introduction. Let's start with the ground rules. Please read only the indicated paragraphs. Tunnels and Trolls rules apply in all situations unless noted otherwise. Use of any optional rules is up to you. All trips are made alone, no parties of tourists, please. Spellcasters are limited to, oh, there it is, Will-O-Wisp, and combat spells. What to use as combat spells is left to your discretion, but any spell you can use may be used against you. Minimum saving rolls are always 5. We're going to use 4 for the deluxe rules. That was adjusted with the deluxe rules. Meaning you roll 2 dice, and you need to roll a target number or greater, but you always fail on the roll of a 3, which is a 2 and a 1 on the 2 dice. In the olden days, it was a 3 or a 4 was always a failure. But now it's always a 3, only a 3. And you get to roll doubles again and add to the previous roll and keep going every time you roll doubles. So anyway, let's keep going. You can take any of your magic weapons, charms, rings, etc. down with you. However, if these powers don't fit into a situation's options, then that power won't work in that room. Your host for this dungeon is that cheerful mercantile dwarf, Marciniak the Fair. And fair he is if you are fair with him. Those who try to cheat him find he swings a mean warhammer, thunk. After purchasing an old mirror which proved to be the entrance to many separate planes of existence, I hate when that happens, he saw a chance to make some money off the current dungeon delving craze, and developed his Looking Glass dungeon. No cracks about Alice in Wonderland. It's kind of funny because now we have an Alice in Wonderland related solo called Alice in Weird World. Available at Flying Buffalo, to be a cheesy advertiser. To pretend I want. Marciniak looks up as you enter his dungeon supplies shop at Groko Square in downtown Tallymark. Well, well, unless I sleep with orcs, you are here to challenge my Looking Glass dungeon, correct? Good, fine. Let me explain how it works. If you have braved my friend Umslop's dungeon, that's a reference to the proprietor of Deathtrap Equalizer, by the way, you will find mine works much the same way. You can take short trips through the mirror, after which You come back here for healing, being awarded experience, and replacing equipment, which I'll be only too happy to sell to you. You may leave a situation by saying, enough, which lets me know you've had enough. It's a safe word. I'll bring you back as soon as I hear that word. If you feel like a world beater, you can try to survive the Mirror Marathon. A character of little experience shouldn't try it. In this trip, you simply start with one situation and continue through all the situations without coming out to heal wounds or replace equipment. The choice is yours. Just let me know which trip you want before I send you through the mirror. I'll end my speech with some helpful suggestions. Sometimes brains are better than brawn. You may need the means of making a fire. Remember, things aren't always what they seem. Be prepared to confront the worst of yourself. Follow me. He takes you to a back room. The walls are hung with dark curtains, and a single torch burns to provide light. On a south wall is a mirror, a 10-foot by 20-foot slab of ominous power. That's pretty huge. Marcellanius mutters a few words, and the mirror begins to grow redly. Step right up, don't be afraid, chuckles the dwarf. Take a last look at yourself and step right into the mirror. Good luck. You see your image bathed in blood red. Stepping forward, your leg disappears into the mirror. You're on your way. And a little note at the bottom. If you are taking a short trip, roll 3 dice and turn to the A paragraph of that page. Read it and follow the directions. Make your decisions quickly. If you are trying the mirror marathon, then go to 3A and continue through 18A, going to the next A paragraph instead of going to 2D, unless given each situation is 1 game turn. Spent constitutions or other attributes are not regained until after completion of situation 18. Strength is regained as described in the Tunnels and Trolls rule. Okay, so I'm going to do these short trips, but we're going to take a little break to roll up a character, and I'm going to use my my made-up rule set to enhance the character a little bit to get maybe not quite the 70 ad limit they provide. Let's try to get at least 30 or 40, though. I think that would be about a good ballpark for this adventure. I'm just kind of winging it. Again, I wish they had stated a minimum. I think all. By the way, this is my peanut gallery commentary. I think if you author such an adventure, given the amount of people that say these are too hard, you should really do a lot of testing and come up with a good range of minimum ads. And you should be more concerned about minimum ads than maximum ads, because hardly anybody complains that these adventures are too easy. They usually say they're too hard. So if you say maximum 70 ads, I don't know what to pick. Is 5 good? Probably not. So that's my little commentary. Okay, let's roll up a character. Okay, so I'm looking at the attribute multiplier chart for the dwarves. If you want a combat capable high ads beginning character, the way to go is dwarves. There are other options too that are very good at that, to be honest. But if you like the strength and toughness kind of thing, well, as you can see, dwarves get ×2 the strength as well as their constitution. Even though it doesn't contribute to ads, constitution is very important as well. Now, as you can see, there are 2 kinds of dwarves. We have Gristlegrim and Midgardian. Midgardian are your traditional kind of Tolkien-style dwarves, basically. And Gristlegrim are these kinds of stone-bodied dwarves made by the ancient wizard Gristlegrim. If you just go by the attributes, it's going by, do you want to have a penalty to luck or charisma? If you ask me, having played 1,000 solo adventures, luck comes up a lot more than charisma as far as how valuable it is. That's not to say that this cannot. Charisma can be valuable too. I'm just saying generally luck figures into your ads, your combat ads, and generally say you trigger a trap. What kind of attribute roll are you going to have to make? Most likely luck. Charisma, I'm not going to say it can't come up and it's not important, but if you had to wager on one or the other, you generally want to have higher luck. So I'm going to go with the Midgardian Dwarf. Okay, before you is my simplified character card. If you've watched some of my older videos, I actually had made a very complete and deluxe character sheet that's double-sided and has a space for everything. But what it turns out is when you're playing solos and most of your characters die, you don't get to accumulate all that stuff. And most of the time, this is all the core stuff you need. I actually originally designed this card to play through a lot of characters in Naked Doom, hence there's no place for spells, because that adventure only allows warriors. I'm going to play a warrior today, so again, it doesn't matter. If I did have a spell, I'd just squeeze it in at the bottom probably. I also have the back if necessary. Anyway, that said, let's roll our Midgardian Dwarf. My style of rolling is going to be to roll on this little lip on my book stand here. And whatever sides are facing you are the sides we keep. So let's roll strength first. That is doubled for a dwarf. And by the way, at the end of this, I'm going to add my bonus hacky rules that I made up to make for a stronger character. Anyway, we rolled a 12, so our strength is 24, which is very solid. Dexterity stays the same. We have an 11. Constitution doubles. For those who don't know, Constitution equals health or hit points in this game. Ooh, not a good roll there, but at least it doubles to 14. Or we could apply Ken's rule that if you roll less than 8, you re-roll. I'm not sure how that's supposed to figure in with a multiplier like this. Why don't we just go with using Ken's re-roll rule? So we did not roll a 7, we're going to re-roll that. Roll this guy. He fell off the table. Okay, we got a bad roll again. Are you only allowed one re-roll? Nah, we'll go with as many as you want. Part of Tunnels and Trolls is kind of just making stuff up as you go. If you don't find something working for you, you change the rule. You add your own optional rules. And this rule is even sanctioned by the creator of the game. So, wow, we rolled another 8 or lower. Did he intend to have the player re-roll this many times? I don't know, but let's go for it anyway. This one's a re-roll. I gotta learn to roll a little more carefully. All right, we'll keep that one. That is a 10 that is doubled to 20. Now, being Midgardian, we're going to have a charisma penalty. So we're going to multiply by 3/4. Okay, we rolled pretty well. We got a 14. What is 3/4 of 14? I always go with rounding up, by the way. Let's see. 3/4 of that is 10 and change, so we go with 11 after rounding up. Our luck has no multiplier. Actually, nothing else we roll is multiplied. Okay, we'll go with that's a 13. So that's good. We got some luck. Enough luck to add another bonus to our adds. IQ. Do we have any brains that are functional? Ooh, whoa, look at this. We have a triple. We have a triple. That means you're allowed to add and roll over. So we're going to get a 6. And plus we get to add on top of that. Wow. So for a beginning dwarven warrior, we have a 14 plus 6 is 20. On top of that, Tarot gives you, when you roll triples, you have the ability to play as a specialist under the deluxe rules. There's a different type of specialist per attribute. I haven't really used it much. I think I might have used it once. The specialist rules. I'll look it up and see if it seems suitable. That would basically mean instead of a warrior, we would choose the IQ specialist, which I don't remember the name of, but I know, like for example, one of them is called a ranger. I think that's Constitution, but don't quote me on it. But yeah, we'll see what IQ specialist we can be. For now, let's roll the wizardry and speed attributes for our dwarf. That is a bad roll, and we're going to re-roll that. Here we have a 10 for wizardry. And lastly, speed. Speed is the only attribute that nobody multiplies. I don't think I agree with that rule. I think that some types of kindred and illkin and such should have lesser or greater speed. Anyway, what we have is 24 strength, 11 dexterity, 20 constitution, charisma 11, 13 luck, 20 intelligence, 10 wizardry, and 13 speed. Because the first digit basically is a 2, we are level 2. First digit of the highest attribute, which would actually be the strength. I was pointing to the wrong one. And our adds are 12 come from strength, and 1 comes from luck, and 1 comes from speed. So we have a nice starting edge of 14. Let's roll some gold, and then we'll look into the specialist rule. Gold is the dice roll, 3 dice times 10. Okay, whenever the problem with this style rolling I do is sometimes it's on a border. I'm not sure which is it. I guess it's 5. Did I just cheat unconsciously? Perhaps. Anyway, I rolled a 10, so that is 100 gold. Dead average. One last thing before we actually look into the specialist rules and then jump in. I was gonna beef up this character. I think he's pretty good, but given that the recommended ad limit is 70, I think I want to beef him up a little more. And I'm just gonna do a simple solution to that. Is roll 3 more dice and no rerolls. We'll keep tarot just for extra fun, meaning if I roll triples, I'll reroll. And that'll be the number of bonus points I can assign to any attribute I want, any combination of attributes. So let's do that. Okay, not a bad roll. That is a 14. So I'm going to cut away and add 14 to some attributes. Okay, so I rolled 14, as you saw, for bonus points. This is my made-up rule, just to give myself a little boost for what I think I might need in this particular adventure. And as you can see, I decided to add 2 to every attribute since I rolled a 14, except for wizardry, because that is rarely useful for a warrior unless an adventure calls for a specific saving roll on wizardry. But given that Beyond the Silvered Pane is so old, wizardry wasn't even around back then, that they added that attribute later. It's not going to be a useful attribute for this character. Now I did look at the specialist rule, and I'm going to show you that now. Okay, because I rolled triples in the intelligence attribute, I can be a mastermind. This is actually just an example. They say you can kind of just make up specialist traits or names and powers. Basically, if you roll a specialist, you get a special power related to that attribute. So for intelligence, mastermind. The mastermind character is simply smarter than most of the other characters in the game. She has a better memory, a nimble wit, a swift insight to the implications of minor details, and a greater ability to solve problems. When asked to make any saving roll on IQ, the mastermind may double the final total dice score before evaluating the result. So now I'm faced with a question. 1, do I want to be a mastermind? 2, do I have a choice? Again, this being Untitled Trolls, you can kind of be loose with the rules. So I'm going to say I have the choice. Can I be a mastermind or just stick with a warrior? The rules explicitly did say you cannot be both. Since they said that, I will not say I'm a warrior mastermind. I kind of like the idea of that, though. But I'm going to... Should I just do it anyway? Let's do it. I'm going to get crazy, so I am violating the rules, and that's okay. I'm sure Ken would approve. I am going to be a mastermind warrior, so I'm going to get all the benefits of being a warrior. But whenever I'm asked to make any roll on IQ, the mastermind can double the final total dice score before evaluating the result. And, you know, before I recorded this clip, I was going to just say I'm going to pick warrior, probably. But I figured it might just be more fun to try combining the two. Why not? I am a mastermind warrior. Okay, I've written up here that I'm a mastermind warrior. Now, to be clear, this guy's IQ is so good anyway, and I don't expect the adventurer to throw really high IQ level saving rolls at me. So for the purpose of this adventure, I don't actually think it's going to matter much, but who knows? It might. And again, I'm not really totally playing by the rules by combining the two, but I just thought it would be fun to try. And the TNT community is all about just trying wacky stuff, so I think you guys will appreciate it, hopefully. And now let's buy some equipment and then begin, and talents as well. Okay, here we have the talent list. Given that we are a dwarven warrior type, but also a brain, I'm going to choose 2 talents accordingly. By the way, I have 2 talents because I'm level 2. Let's pick blacksmith, which seems appropriate for a very strong dwarven warrior, for the bronze side of that. And for the brain side of our character, we will pick translator. Okay, so for talents, we have chosen blacksmith and translator. I think I already said that. And for equipment, we decided to get your basic Delver's package, which only costs 5 gold and includes a lot of goodies like matches, torches, a backpack, other goodies, rope. For weapons and armor, I decided to buy a Trident. I haven't never used a Trident before in this game, I don't think, and a Misericord as well. You can use both, even though it might be awkward in real life. Misericord is a dagger, a thrusting dagger, and a Trident is a trident. And I also have a Roman helm from when I traveled through time and to another planet called Earth, and I acquired a Roman helm. And I'm going to briefly show you what these two weapons look like because there's nice little pictures, illustrations in the manual. Here we have a trident. It is a spear with 3 parallel or nearly parallel prongs, may be thrown to impale fish or foes. And next we have a picture of the Misericord. I'm not entirely sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, but we'll go with that. It is a long, narrow bladed dagger intended for thrusting. So I can't imagine wielding that in one hand and the trident in the other. But the trident is considered one-handed, and let's go with it. We got to take every advantage we can in Tunnels and Trolls. By the way, there is a strength and dexterity requirement for each. And if you want to dual wield, you have to add the 2. So you have to add the strength requirements for each, as well as the dexterity requirements for each. And I do have sufficient strength and dexterity, so we're going to go with this strange combination of Trident and Misericord. And last but not least, before we begin, the character's name is Bolgar, because when he was a kid, this dwarf was such a rough and tumble guy, and he was very dangerous, that one of his friends compared him to a Balrog, and he rearranged the letters in the name, so his name is now Bolgar. Okay, now it's time to begin. We're taking a short trip into the mirror universe that we're going to roll 3 dice and turn to the A paragraph of that page. We rolled a very high 17. You are in a 20-foot square room. The room's source of light is a 20-foot high monolith which stands before you. Purple light comes from an inscription on the monolith in the common tongue, as well as several ancient languages. Hey, I can translate those because of my translation talent. It's written, "Herein lies great power or great doom." Before the monolith stand several statues of men in various poses, each with a hand stretched out to the monolith. You can either touch the monolith and go to 41A, or examine the statues and go to 22B. So let's take a quick gander at this monolith. Okay, here's the illustration of the monolith in all its terrible splendor. And we can see the English or common phrase, herein lies great power or great doom, as well as a bunch of gibberish to me or you. One of these looks like kind of like hieroglyphics. Anyway, we're faced with a choice. Do we want to touch it or examine the statue? I choose to examine the statues before I go touching random dangerous monoliths. Great anguish is, this is 22B by the way, great anguish is frozen on their faces. They share another characteristic. Only their bodies are sculpted, but the rest of each statue is real clothing and equipment. Some are dressed as magic users, and others appear to be warriors. You may either touch the monolith and go to 41A, search for a way out by going to 17E, or say enough and go to 19C. I should declare my choice before cutting. So, I didn't come here just to leave, so I'm going to touch it and hope that I am somehow more worthy or stronger than these other folks who apparently turned to stone. So I'm going to go to 41A. As you approach the monolith, you feel great power emanating from it. Your body is bathed in a purple light, and your hand trembles as you reach towards the forbidding object. When you touch it, great pain races through your hand, up your arms, and into your body. Your skin feels as if it is crawling and tightening at the same time. This doesn't sound good. Make a second level con saving roll, 25 minus con, to see if your body can stand this torture. If you make it, go to 37D. If you miss, go to 35F. Okay, so our constitution is 22, which is very good for this roll. 25 minus our con is 3, so we need higher than a 3, because a 3 is always failure, and doubles add and roll over, so a 2 is safe. By the way, before I make this saving roll, we have an interesting blast from the past on the right page here. This is Star Web, which was a play-by-mail game It might even still be going on, hosted by Flying Buffalo. You would submit your orders basically in this kind of, I guess, space empire style game, and you would receive a computer printed output of what your actions resulted in, basically. That said, let's make our saving on anything but a 3, and we're okay. Okay, we rolled a 6, so we are successful. 12 adventure points, 6 times 2 for our level of the saving roll. 37D. From your contact with the monolith, you absorbed both strength and knowledge. Raise both your strength and IQ by 5 points. Go to 38. All right, so we are kind of, as we were talking about, we are strength slash, we were brains and bronze, right? So we're going to add 5 to both strength and IQ, bringing us to 31 and 27, respectively. 30A, well, look at that. Your skin has been transmuted into an alien metal. It can take up to 12 hits, meaning it acts like armor. Your body weight is quadrupled, so bodies of water can be death traps for you. Your strength would have to be around 80 to be able to tread water. Your fists are 4-die weapons, 2 each. Count your added body weight to your total weight being carried. Okay, kind of ignore that conveniently for now. Your new skin needs an occasional oil bath to avoid corrosion. You may still perform all bodily functions, that's good to know. Say enough and go to 22E. Marciniak heard you. You begin to glow redly. Go to 2D. Great, you survived, cries Marciniak as you appear in the mirror room. Many were not so lucky. Now there's the simple matter of 10% of any treasure you have brought back. Oh, this amount was deemed fair at the Brotherhood of Dungeon Hosts convention last year. Okay, I didn't actually earn any treasure, and I'm assuming I can't sell my body to him. I don't think he wants my body. So it says pay the dwarf and go to 2A. And by the way, let's take a look at Mr. Marciniak himself. Here is that handsome fellow, Marciniak, showing off his mirror. You get all the experience earned during the trip as described in the Tunnels and Trolls rules. You are also awarded 100 bonus experience points, which is just another word for adventure points, for surviving a short trip. You get 2,000 bonus points if you have survived the Mirror Marathon. If you have made 5 trips with the same character, the time has come for you to think about trying the marathon, since the short trips are not providing you much of a challenge. You may otherwise try another short trip with this character, and it explains how that works. So that's it for our first Tiny Tunnels and Trolls trip into Beyond the Silvered Pane. We will try again later. But for now, that's all I've got. Thanks for watching, and stay trollish.